Welcome to the Grit.org podcast with Colby Harris and Brian Harbin. In these episodes, they speak to top achievers in athletics and business to understand the habits and mindset they apply in order to build more grit.
Welcome back to the Grit.org podcast. My name's Colby Harris, and I have a very, very exciting episode for you today. I'm here with Gary Humphrey, who has many different hats he wears. He's a world traveler, TV production connoisseur, and has some very interesting and exciting stories to share with us today from the military, from traveling, from working with various celebrities. So, Gary, thanks for being here today. We really appreciate you coming on the show. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Thanks, Colby. I do appreciate True Grit and inviting me down. I'm Gary Humphrey, former Royal Marine for a few years. Then I went UK Special Forces, did that 17 years overall. Then I was a TV host on Discovery Channel, became a writer, producer. I run safety, I do security. You know, as you said, I wear many hats, and really that's the best way I think in life to be, because you're never unemployed, ever.
Never.
Currently managing safety for Gordon Ramsey's Unchartered show on National Geographic. Just finished 3 episodes. We've just been out to Jordan and northern Spain and Ireland, and that comes up probably next year. So, yeah, it's great. Life is good. There's plenty of work around, and it's fun being in the TV industry after being in the military.
Yeah, I would imagine. You know, I love recording this podcast here in the studio, but after watching some of those clips of you in the helicopter, that doesn't look too bad either.
No, it's not too shabby. You know what? Life's about living. It's about having fun, enjoying yourself and working with good people. And if you can do that, then it's a great recipe for living your life, I think.
Absolutely. And just a little backstory. So as I've mentioned to you before, I've really wanted to get you on the show ever since you had a big impact on me in high school. Our old Spanish teacher roped you in somehow at the bar one night to come speak to us at the high school. And it really stuck with me. It stuck with, I believe my brother was there as well, who it really just landed with him of your whole message was more about saying yes. You know, we're so used to people telling us, you know, say no to this, say no to that, be cautious. You're like, say yes, like exactly what you said, life, go live it. As much as you can.
Did I want to do those? Did I want to help out school? No. Did I want to stand in front of my son and all the lads and all the kids? No. But I was a bit tipsy one night at a Christmas party. Mrs. Durr invited me in and I said yes. Thought I was coming in for one class. 8 hours later, I staggered out of there, but it was great. And as you said, it made an impact on yourself. I'll be in Publix or in Walmart and these kids have come up to me. I haven't got a clue who they are. They say, Mr. Gary, I've joined the Marines. I'm in the Coast Guard. I'm doing this. I've just climbed Kota Kinabalu or one of the mountains. And I'm like, great. And it just being able to give back that 1% and perhaps steering the kids in a different direction or keeping them on the straight and narrow is, as a dad, as a father, as a parent, as a man, if you can give back a little bit, I think it's fantastic.
Absolutely. And I'm very blessed to have learned that at a young age, you know, with our summer camp and what we do here at Grit.org. But the good news is we're only going to have you for an hour here today. And hopefully this is going to dish out to thousands of people. So we're doing the most convenient today. And it did take us about a year to make this happen. So I really can't say thank you enough for being here. But let's go ahead and jump right into where you're from and where all of this started for you.
Yeah, I'm obviously English. I'm not Australian like most Floridians keep thinking I am. I'm from Epsom in Surrey, which is south of London, and Epsom's famous for Epsom salts. The salt you throw in your bath comes from the well behind my parents' house 1,000 years ago. It's now not a well, it's a flower pot. The Germans took over production years ago commercially. But I come from a very normal working class family. My parents, 63 years married still and alive. They live life. They laugh a lot. They've been in love all those years. I don't know how. And they love drinking wine. And really, that recipe there has worked for them. And they're still happy. They're in their 80s. They're getting on a bit, but they brought me up in a loving way. I've got a sister, live in a very normal house, very normal society. When I joined the Marines, I didn't know what divorce was. I'd never heard of it.
Wow.
Compared to stepping 30, 40 years later on, and so many people seem to be divorced. I didn't know what that was.
Wow.
Very basic upbringing. And yeah, it was great. It was fun. You know, I was out in the woods all the time. I scouted a lot. I joined the Cubs. I joined the Scouts. And that really, I think, started me off on sort of wanderlust. You know, at 12, 13 years old, I did selection to go to Sweden. We had like 60 scouts, 12 could go, and you had to show something to be selected for that. You know, you had to be mature enough. You had to wash cars every weekend to make the money to buy the minibus, all these different things. And I think that really gave me an idea and a taste of going out and having adventures. And that's really how it started. It's fantastic.
And I know you have a big passion for sports. We were just in here talking with our studio owner about soccer and all the different experiences you've had in that industry and your passion for soccer as well. Tell us a little bit more about your introduction to sports and what that meant to you growing up.
Yeah, I love football. That's soccer.
Football.
Yeah, football. You play it with your feet. Don't use your hands. So it's football. But yeah, played it as a kid. I had asthma up to the age of 15. So I could never be that good. I was always second best. I was like the house captain, but I was never good enough because I had asthma. I bring that down to parents smoking. You know, smoking in the car, smoking. Everyone smoked back in the 70s, and it was bloody awful. But I got to about 16. I started diving. I got into scuba, and I'd go away every weekend. And for some reason, asthma stopped. I don't know if it's something to do with pressure of the lungs or being just away, salt air. I don't know, but it stopped, and that changed my life. Started getting really fit. I loved diving. I loved salvage work, getting underneath, stealing like portholes and rudders and
just moving the body.
Everything. We used to get down there with pneumatic guns and take off blinking. We'd take off wheels and bells and all sorts of stuff. So it was fantastic. But I got into diving, loved it so much. But then I thought I'd be a marine biologist. You know, you could leave school at 16 back in the day. I stayed on till 18 to do the exams to get me into college. And I was doing okay, but then I probably wasn't the best student. You know, I'd be looking out the window instead of the teacher. Biology, geography. I had a great geography teacher who was fantastic. But he was always talking about adventure and Norway and glaciation and mountains. And I was like, I like all this. Marine biology, failed one of my exams, had to go to community college for a year. And I just thought, this is really immature. Everyone's drinking, everyone's partying. Okay, we're studying, but not studying a lot. And one day I'm reading the paper. I'm supposed to be revising. And I look at the back page and it said, join the Royal Marine Commandos. And there's a guy there, big fella, big moustache, green beret pancaked over his face, gun jumping off a rock. And I'm like, I want that moustache. I want that green beret. And I joined up. And I remember getting the magazine. They send you a recruiting brochure. And there was the SBS, Special Forces, like Navy SEALs. And I just remember those photos. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. And I was a diver, so I was really at home with it. And I joined up. And it was the best thing I ever did. I never looked back after that. And life's just been this really cool roller coaster of fun. You know?
Yeah, and that it all started with that first step, that ad in the newspaper, right? The butterfly effect is just crazy. And I want to ask you more about what you did in the military specifically, because obviously you decided to join up and you mentioned SBS and going through that training. Tell us a little bit about the processes that you went through those 17 years or so that you were in the military.
Well, initially you join up and you join the Royal Marine Commandos. It's the longest infantry training in the world. It was 32 weeks. It's now 34 weeks of training, you know, considering a lot of regiments, they do 12 weeks, you know, and then they're a soldier. We do 32 weeks, 34 weeks.
7-8 months.
It's crazy. Yeah. Absolutely crazy. You start off with, I think we had 52 and we ended up with 11 originals. So my life has always been about selection in the Cub Scouts to go to Sweden, selection to get Royal Marines. So I've always been put under pressure. You come out of Royal Marine training, you get your green lead, as we call it, the berry. You join your unit, and it wasn't what I thought it would be. You know, we've been rushing around doing stuff in training, and then all of a sudden you join a unit and you're like, well, I'm at the bottom of the pile again. I'm doing the crappy jobs that no one else wants because you're the new guy. But then I went to Norway, and we do winters in Norway. We are the Arctic warriors, Arctic soldiers, you know, the Royal Marines. And you go out there and you selection again. You have to learn your trade. So it's soldiering, but it's minus 30 Celsius. You're on skis. You know, it's not skiing. It's cross-country skiing with 100 pounds on your back. Everything you need, how to live in the snow, how to dig a snow hole, how to cook food, how to not get frostbite, how to soldier, all those things you do. And you're out for months, and it's great. First year, not as good. Second, third, fourth, and onwards, those seasons were amazing. You go to Northern Ireland. Back in the day, Northern Ireland, you know, we were at war with the IRA. We were there to protect the police. But the IRA, who were the Catholics, were fighting the Protestants and the police. And, you know, it was pretty nasty. Guys were getting blown up. Guys were getting killed. 2 soldiers, signals guys, got dragged out of a car, beaten to death, shot in the head. That was on TV.
Really?
Yeah, I was just about to deploy for my second stint, and these 2 young lads got dragged out and beaten to death. And I, you know, I always thought I had a bit of respect for the IRA. And, you know, one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it is, you know, and you give everyone the due, but to see British people dragging people out of a car and beating them to death and then shooting them. We saw it all on TV. That really changed. I stepped up then. I stepped up to be a different type of soldier because it's real. Yeah. People are dying. It's on TV. So did a couple of years. I did Norway, did Northern Ireland, went and did like a jungle tour. But then I wanted to join Special Forces. And they wouldn't let me. I was too young. And I got into a bit of trouble. And they're like, no, you can't join Special Forces. If you can get into reconnaissance troop, which is, you know, 700 guys, we want 10 of you. If you can get into that, that's a good stepping stone. So I tried for that, got into reconnaissance, got my para wings.
So that was with 10 people out of 700?
Well, if you wanted to be.
Okay.
I can't remember how many guys, 60, 70 went. Anyway, we got in, and that's maturing. You're maturing. You know, you get your parachute wings, you get extra money. You're the lead for the commando if it goes anywhere. Mountain climbing, sniping, whatever you're doing, parachuting. Did all that, but I still wanted to go Special Forces. Still wanted to do it. And all the guys, everyone was into it in my troop. We're all going to go SAS or SBS. SBS is Special Boat Service, a bit like SEALs and SEAL Team 6. SAS, Special Air Service, is more like Delta Force, you know, or Green Berets. But yeah, put my chit in, you know, my certificate. Yes, please, I want to be accepted. I went down for a 2-week, just a selection to see if I could get in. Out of 50 of us, 3 of us were left. Three people. And out of those 3, I was the only one who actually said, I want to go on the course. Everyone else is like, stick it.
Yeah.
We're not doing this. We can't do 1,000 press-ups. You know, when there's 3 of you left, you can't cheat. You can't slow down. Anyway, managed to pass that little selection, and then you go on the course, and it was about 7 months. And this is the old SBS. This isn't what we have today. This is old SBS training, Special Forces training. And 50 of us started, and I think 10 or 11 finished. So it was an 80% failure rate over 7 months. And it was hard. It was so hard, and I think mind-numbing at times, because you're like, you're a Royal Marine Commando. So you've done your 32 weeks, you've proven yourself, and then they knock you back, and you don't start again, but they just treat you with, they despise you.
I was just going to ask, are you allowed to tell us a little bit about what they put you through the training? Because, you know, when you think about the SEALs and the two, you know, we think about what we see with them with the logs, and they're sitting in the Pacific Ocean, and they're up for, you know, they have Hell Week, of course, which everyone knows a little bit about. Can you tell us a little bit about what they put you through during that time?
Well, then in the old SBS training, now it's joint selection, SBS and SAS, they go together and they do their thing. With us, it was the old way, with the old and bold, as I would say. Some guys who shouldn't have passed, who are now training and still implementing the training that they did. And we did a lot of diving. You know, it's rebreathers, it's on oxygen, You know, you don't see the people underwater. It's not like scuba and Jacques Cousteau, you know, and nice and blue. I don't think I saw a fish in 17 years of diving.
Wow.
Because you're in black all the time. Anyway, you do the diving part weeds people out. If you weren't any good at diving, you couldn't get in the SBS. It's changed now because diving's hard and it's dangerous and it's mentally tough, physically tough, mentally exhausting. And if you're not a good diver, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be in special forces. So nowadays they can go and join the SAS or they can become part of the SBS, but they don't have to be a diver, which is great because we've got these good guys who just can't dive. Anyway, you go on a dive course, it's, 4 weeks long, 3 dives a day. You might be doing 3 hours underwater every dive, which is equivalent of a marathon. So you do 3 marathons a day. You're standing there at 11 o'clock at night. You've done PT at 6 o'clock in the morning. Then you've had breakfast, you've had a dive, you've had lunch, you've had a dive, you've had supper, you've had a dive. It's 11 o'clock at night. You've done well. And then the instructors are standing there. And this is not San Diego, nice and warm. This is English Channel, November. It's freezing. It's Baltic, as we'd say. And they're like that. Get naked, get in the water. And you're just like, I don't believe this. You're freezing cold. You're naked. You're jumping off a dock, swimming around. And we had a SEAL lad helping us. He was training. He was on the training team. And he'd be like, get naked, get around the buoy. You dive in the water, swim 100 yards back, and you just hold on for dear life onto a rope. And you could see the guys who were like the GQ guys, you know, the gym rats.
Super fit. Abs.
And they were shaking. I put a bit of weight on and a bit of fat. And you could see them shaking and they couldn't cope with it. And after about probably the 15th time of jumping in the water at night, they're like, not going to do it. If they ask me this time, I will not do it. Get in the water. And blokes would just stand there. So you could run off naked. But the worst part was, at night time, it's raining. No one can see you. But sometimes you've screwed up. The boat's come undone. It's got loose at night. The training team have gone berserk. You get off the bus. They're like that. Get naked. Get on your back. You're doing sit-ups. You're totally naked. You can see everything. You're giggling. There's these scientists walking past with briefcases looking at you going, what the... You know, and you're giggling at your mate because his nadger's smaller than yours, and you think, and then he's laughing, and all your back's bleeding, and like, get in the water. And you're back in the water, and you're like, this is hell. But you get through it, and it makes you, it gets you the person they want then to get on to soldier.
And what I want to ask you on that point right there is, what do you tell yourself in those situations? Because we're talking some people that want to build grit, want to be mentally tougher, that are talking about they want to use it for studying in their dorm room. They want to use it for just showing up to go to a commercial gym. Yeah. We're not talking about they're fighting for their life and, 0 degrees Celsius weather and swimming in the water and doing 12-hour days. Yeah. What do you tell yourself when you're in those situations, like the swim, when you're doing the workouts? How did you get through that?
I used to say, I don't think they can kill me. That's one. That's the first thing. That's the reality check. Everyone else has done it. Hopefully, they're not going to kill me. Secondly, let me just last today. Let me finish this today. I will get up in the morning and I will reconsider and take one day at a time. Small steps.
One more day.
Doesn't matter if you're losing weight, if you're studying and it's overwhelming because you've got this big book. It's one paragraph, one chapter, one segment, one book, isn't it? One exam at a time and just ticking over. And if you can break life down, studying down, military service down, whatever, training in the gym into small segments, I think it's easy because you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. You know, if you have a big book or you say, I've got 7 months of training, it will just blow your mind and you can't do it. But take every day as it comes. Yeah. You know? And
SBS, as you said, is the equivalent of like the Navy SEALs and SEAL Team 6. And obviously what they do are some of the most challenging and most high risk operations in our military. So you've seen war, like you said, you've been to these places and been a part of that. Tell us a little bit more about going through that and what you learned by being in those, high mental fortitude moments.
I have to say, caveat one thing at the moment is when you join Special Forces, you have the Official Secret Act, but then after that you have disclosure, which you sign. So you can't talk about certain things. So I couldn't say I was in the SBS and I was fighting in whatever country.
Fair.
You know, I can say I was in Libya or I was in Afghanistan fighting, but I can't connect. I could have been in the Marines. I could have been a contractor because I've done contracting. I've, had firefighters as a contractor in Iraq or Afghan. So I have to be a bit cagey about what I say. I don't think I'm giving anything away because there's TV shows now that say everything. But what was the question?
Just tell us about, even if it's no specific story or story about it, what did that, after all that training
and then lessons
going into application of it, essentially, like what was that like for you to now go from the learning portion to then executing on what you were learning? And then how did you grow during that time?
I think, you train to go to war. You always train to fight. It doesn't matter how much you train. If you're not going to war, into combat, then you're not working at your optimal because it's not real. You might be shooting on a range or whatever, but it's not really real. It's only when you turn this key and it goes from like simmer to boil. And simmer is training and then boil is combat. You're at war, you're kicking indoors somewhere, you're up a mountain, you're doing something and you could die. And the biggest thing is, it's not about you. It's about you train and you give the best of your ability, but it's about not letting your teammates down. Because you would rather die, I know it sounds crazy, you'd rather die than let the lads down. If one of them gets injured because you have taken a shortcut, the attention to detail, you haven't done something right, one of them gets injured, you find it hard. So you give everything you can, and it's the same with that guy and the guy behind you. And they always say, someone's got your six, someone's got your rear. You don't have to look back because you know he's got it or she's got it, depending on who you're working with. And that really is the biggest thing, is about never giving up, giving your best, relying on the lads and trust. And if you've got trust, then it's easy because you're strong as a unit. You're weak as a person, but you're strong as a unit.
And from that time in the military, because now you talk a lot about teamwork, would you have any advice for other people that are trying to create, because it's a culture essentially, right? And that's what the Navy, whether it's the SEALs, whether then you look over at SBS or, whether we are looking at FC Barcelona, right?
Yeah.
Units that move together obviously create that culture. And based on everything you've worked in, from television to the military to sporting, what do you think is synonymous within those cultures that helps them create that team unit?
I think the biggest thing is you've got confidence. Every operator is confident. Obviously, there's still a tier system within the military of who's good and who's confident and who isn't as confident. But when you take that confidence and you put it into civilian life, you can almost be, sometimes you have to tone it down a bit because people can perceive you as arrogant. And it's not. You go into a business, you go into a work situation, and you can give a brief because you might have been a corporal or a sergeant, and you're briefing colonels and majors, 150 men on an operation because you are the man on the ground. You're the good guy. You've got the confidence. You've got the knowledge. You're briefing these guys, and these people are listening to you. So when you go into the work situation in a business, sometimes you can perceive, as I said, as arrogant, but it's not. You've just got that confidence because you're relying on the previous experiences. You're not really nervous. You want to stand up. You want to show what you can do, and you believe in yourself. And that is huge, I think, that you can believe in yourself and being in the military to have been a civilian. And the biggest thing, probably the most scared you can be, is when you leave the military. Because you're this dog, you're a warrior, you're the man. The next minute you're thrown out and it's like this rabbit in the headlights or this naked kid standing there like that because you're like, what are we going to do? What am I going to do? I've had 20, 22 years, 30 years of this, and now I'm a civilian. And that's when you need the mentor or someone who's left before you, perhaps to guide you and say, hey, you're going to be really good at this. And you're like, I don't know anything about it, but you are. You've got the confidence, you've got the knowledge, you've got the sort of the will to achieve and to adapt, and humility and a bit of empathy to say, hey, I don't quite know what to do here, but if you show me, I'm going to be the best guy. So it's, it's an interest. trying to adapt. You have a CV, you have a resume, and you write down what you've done. No one cares that you're a team leader in a helicopter attacking bin Laden. No one cares about that. They want to know how your skills can cross over. Managerial ways, multitasking, adapting through high technology with all the technology that we use in the military with computers and demolitions and drones and underwater stuff. They want to know that and how it can change and be put into business. Because at the end of the day, you're a dollar sign. That's all you are as a civilian, isn't it? How can someone make my life easier, make me money? That's what it's all about.
Tool in the toolbox, essentially.
It is. A good one, a nice shiny one.
Yeah. And I think that's the way I like to look at it too. And something I heard on another podcast not too long ago is someone talking about when they talk about confidence versus arrogance, they essentially said it's all about building a stack of undeniable proof that proves that you are who you say you are.
Yeah.
Right. That shows that, hey, like, I'm not just this guy that walks around saying I'm a badass, I can do all these things. It says, no, here's my stack of proof that shows that I've done these things. I've experienced these things. I've learned from them. And talking about transitioning, let's move forward. You know, you did eventually decide to leave the military. Was that a tough decision? Did you have a kind of an aha moment where you knew you were done with your time in the military, or did you have another opportunity to leave?
I didn't have a choice. I got thrown out military. I got a military pension. I got discharged. I had no choice. I had two really nasty near-death experiences. One, fell out from underneath a helicopter and landed in water rather than on land. I was holding on to my mate's leg. It's called long lining or spy rigging. You know, you have a rope. You clip onto it, you put your rucksacks on the bottom and you fly away. So imagine that's the rope under a helicopter and you're doing 50, 80 miles an hour and you're having a great time. Anyway, it's pitch black. They put a winch down. The winch, you know, you see a winchman, and they have a winch. They bring it down, two of you clip onto it. They take you up, and as we're getting in the door, the winch fails. And we go, straight past our teammates, straight past the rucksacks and disappear into the darkness. We're now hitting the water at about 50, 80 miles an hour. Smash, 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 spinning round. We've got the winch on us, like a boot's getting ripped off, a life jacket's getting ripped off, your helmet's getting ripped off.
And you're still attached to the helicopter, so it's dragging.
It's dragging. Imagine a spinning stone. As a kid, you spin a stone. We were doing that. No, look at that, broken nose. I mean, teeth getting knocked out. Next minute, the winch clip reels in, and they're reeling us in. And I remember the crewman looking down with his night vision, just the green. I saw the green. But we've got a rope. It's about that thick, like a big gym rope, soaking wet. So we've got these bags. We've got this guy on top of me as the winch is coming up. The rope is snaking on top of him, on top of me. All these wet bags are on top of him. I'm going, oh! Then the two other lads on top of us. We then get pulled through everyone. As we get pulled through everyone, next minute I feel, I'm like, we're still doing, we're still 45 degrees at 50, 100 miles an hour, whatever we were at. And I'm like, that's weird. Anyway, I start slipping. And I'm like, help me, screaming. We can't communicate with the air crewman. And next minute I'm holding on to my mate's waist. And then I'm on his leg. I'm on his thigh. Then I'm on his knee. And then I'm on his ankle. And I'm like, Tom Cruise holds it like that, picks his nose and is looking good, isn't he? This is happening over like 30 seconds. You're putting your hand out of a car at speed. It's giving it that.
Yeah, force.
So I'm having that pushed against me. And I just remember thinking, right, there's land, there's water. Water's safer than land. And you can't see anything. It's pitch black. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'm like that. Then I'm like that. Then I'm like, oh, bollocks. And I just remember falling back. I remember the Chinook disappearing and the lights flashing. That's the CH-47, just disappearing. And how long does it take to fall 100 feet? 3 seconds, I guess. I don't know. But I just remember accepting death. Sounds crazy. Accepting death. Felt like a pillow, a warm blanket was coming over me. I saw my mum. And then it looked like I was looking up a water well at the blue sky. And then someone put a lid on. I don't remember anything else until I woke up in a hospital in the Middle East. The lads found me about an hour later, and I'm swimming apparently. And my saving grace was A year before, I'd borrowed a life jacket off an air crewman, which is like a waistcoat, and I had flares in here, and it's hard to take off. My mate lost his life jacket, but I had the one I stole, basically saved my life because I had some flares in it, and it didn't get ripped off. So I don't remember a lot about it. Apparently I was in the sea swimming. When they picked me up, I said I was swimming to Qatar. I don't even know where Qatar was, but I was swimming apparently. And fired off a flare that I'd found in my pocket. Don't remember that. I wake up in hospital and I'm like, I must be dead. And there was this angel walking past me, all in white. And I'm like, I guess if this is heaven, I've got in.
So be it.
So be it. They haven't realised all the bad stuff I've done. Anyway, this angel goes past me and then this angel touches me. And I look down and they're white. And then I see a black hand and they've touched my pulse. And I'm like, then I realise there's a little couple of brown eyes with a little black strip of skin. I realise in Middle East, all the nurses aren't Arab, they're African. So she had a white shawl on and veil. Mm-hmm. And she touched me and I went, I'm not dead. And I looked at her and I was like, wow. And then my lips were so dry in my throat. And she gave me some water and I went to lift my arm up and I couldn't lift it up. And I'm like, and anyway, she pressed the button and the doctor came in. He did some tests and they realised I was blinded in that eye, and paralysed down my left side. Mm. And I'd been unconscious for about 12 hours. So they put some warfarin in or whatever it is to thin the blood, put me in a chamber, put me down because they didn't know if I had a brain aneurysm or, bubble.
Something going on up here. Punctured
lungs, there could be bubbles anywhere. So, put me down. I was fine. Sight came straight back, could use everything. But I didn't know what was going on. But I thought I died. I thought she was an angel. I thought I was in heaven. And then I get sent back to my unit. My unit's away still. I'm back at the squadron's away. I'm back at my unit and everyone's going, what happened? I went, I don't know.
It's all a mystery.
Or come and join us. We have to go running today. I can't. My back is bad. My shoulder's bad. My neck. And back in the day, I had to pay for my own physio. Because we didn't have welfare for injured lads. I know it sounds crazy, but a bad back, I'll get on with it, have a load of tablets. So my squadron came back and then they told me what happened. And I didn't know, And about 2 years later, the air crewman who saw me disappear, saw me on an aircraft, ran over to me, hugged me and started crying.
He couldn't believe it. You were alive.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
He saw a ghost when he saw you.
Yeah.
He's come back. Maybe he was wondering if he was in a different realm at that time.
It was nuts. I was like, who are you? And he goes, oh sorry.
That's incredible.
So I was lucky.
Yeah.
So
that was one of two times.
That was years ago. That's when I first joined. And that's when, this is really sad to say, the chance of dying was quite high. Mm-hmm. Say if we had probably 1 in 100 chance.
Yeah, based on that story, I'd say that you were very lucky.
We had 2 or 3 die. 2 of my instructors were dead within 6 months. They're like your father. There's only 4 of them in the team. 2 of them are dead. And that rips you to pieces. It really does. It makes you realise that we say train hard, fight easy. However, sometimes you can train too hard. It's too realistic. That happened. I got over that. I did 9 years. I'd been on an operation. I've been away in combat on my own doing some stuff. And I came back and I was screwed up. I think I had a bit of PTSD. We didn't really know what PTSD was then. None of the other lads had been out there. And I was like, that's my 9 years up. I'm leaving. The colonel says to me, we're going to promote you. And I'm like, no, I'm going skiing. He looks at the RSM. The RSM looks at him. And they go, where are you going skiing? I'm going to Colorado. Who with? Myself. I'm leaving. You can't. You're going to get promoted. So I left and hitchhiked around the world for 3 years. Went to Colorado, met my kid's mum. We got married. I hitchhiked through Africa, went for 3 weeks. 5 months later, ended up in Nairobi from South Africa, skied in the Rockies and sorted myself out. But I knew I was unfulfilled. I knew the mountains were great. Skiing was amazing. I telemark ski. I love photography, but there was something. And my boss, he was a great man. He said to me, take 2 years off and you can come back. So I called him exactly on 2 years. And one of my best mates picked up the phone. And I said, it's Gaz. And he goes, what do you want? I said, I want to rejoin. He went, well, you're supposed to rejoin within 2 years. And I'm like, well, it's 2 years. I wanted to do another ski season. That's what I wanted. Anyway, he said, well, you can rejoin. So I did another ski season and then went back to UK, rejoined, had to join the Marines, went back into Special Forces, and it was great. But then the world changed. 9/11.
Oh, wow.
Life went berserk. From where we were really playing at war and doing a few things, going on great exercises to all the different places around the world, partying, having a great time, to, no, this is full on war.
Yeah, the world's burning.
And it just went mad. Operations everywhere, just full on.
I wasn't born yet. I can't even imagine.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, look how young I still look. But no, it changed. Life changed. Soldiering was fun, but then how many times do you want to go back to war? To the same place when you don't really believe in what they're doing. You know, weapons of mass destruction, there wasn't any. And we're being told there is, and you're going back to find it. Is an excuse, wasn't it, to go into Iraq, you know, Afghanistan, Taliban, Al-Qaeda left, they went into Pakistan or wherever, they disappeared, and we stayed there. And it's called mission creep. We go there for one reason, then we stay there for, was it 20 years in Afghanistan? Ridiculous. You know, lots of good guys died for no reason. So yeah, it got crazy. And then I had a diving accident, passed out on mixed gases, came to after the lads said I was dead. And the only reason I think I survived is because I was the medic as well. I shouldn't have been diving, but I had to because I was training to go away somewhere. And the only reason I survived is because my sergeant major is a nutter. He's a crazy driver, crazy on boats, real petrol head. And when I'm laying there dead, I'm black, my eyes are bulged out, my tongue's bulged out. He's just like 60 miles an hour through the docks, handbrakes the boat onto the side, and they think that handpin of my body hitting the ground, you know, not using your legs, you're laying there unconscious. That was like CPR. And that just for that 5-6 minutes kept the oxygen going around the body, what I had left.
Just keeping it moving.
Keeping moving. And then I woke up, puked everywhere, said, fine, I'm fine, guys. Got changed. Next minute there's a blue light and, you know, the ambulance is there. I get whipped up to the civilian hospital. I don't know what's gone on. I go in there, they're saying, oh, can you do this? I said, I'm fine. And you do these neurological tests. So I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Close your eyes, stand on one foot. I fell over. Drink this juice. Can you pee? No. When was the last time you peed? 5 hours ago. Why can't you pee? I don't know. Okay, get in the pot. So they put you in a chamber and it's an emergency one. So I squeezed in and there's this young medic. And I don't think he's ever really been with a proper diving casualty. So I go in there and they put you under pressure 20 meters for 8 hours or whatever it is. And they have to catheterize you. So they have to put a straw up your old man.
Yep.
Anyway, they open the pack and I'm a medic as well. And I'm looking at it going, well, there's the catheter. Where's the gel? So it's a syringe with lignocaine. You know lignocaine in your mouth? But they do that in a gel and they squeeze it up your urethra. They squeeze it up there. Anyway, there's none there. I'm like, what are you doing? Where is it? And the doctors were 2 Australian female doctors, dive doctors. And they're on the intercom going, God damn, where's the bloody lignocaine? Whatever. Sorry, that's a really bad accent. Anyway, we could have depressurized, got some more stuff in, but I said, look, I'll do it. This poor medic's shaking. He was going to just stick the straw.
Go for it.
And I'm like, whoa, no, I'm naked. Got like a gown on. So I'm like that, right? Oh God, this is going to hurt. Because I've done it to old men before in hospital. So I spit on it and you push it up there. Holy moly, you feel like you're pushing a bloody broom up there. You push it up and there's a sphincter, like these doors that don't want to go that way. And they're, oh my God, you push it through that. You've got a leg up here. And these people are laughing. I'm like, no, whoa. And you have to keep going. And then you go through to the bladder and it just relieves and you peed the bag. The bag just gushed. The pain and the embarrassment and these 2 Australian dive doctors laughing. It was horrendous. Anyway, got cured, did about 3 days in a pot, but I'd lost the ability to like spell. I couldn't spell properly. I couldn't remember people's names and I was just nervous and I'd lost that edge. I knew I'd lost the edge. Was it 0.5%? I said, you only need that little edge to lose. and you're in trouble. And I got downgraded from the job. So now I'm non-operational. Just had a baby, just had Asher. Didn't tell my wife for about a week. So,
really?
And you're trying to keep everything into yourself. I'm fine. You're living a lie. And that was a big problem. You're living a lie. And it's dangerous because you think you're still a good operator, and you are, but you're not the best. And you have to be the best, and other people can die due to that. Had a few issues mentally, aggression, lying about things because I couldn't do the tasks. And eventually they said, we think you're going to have to leave, but I was downgraded, and that's embarrassing. The beauty of the beast with our service is it's so busy. I managed to sneak away on an operation without them realizing, and had the best time of my life with another unit. It was brilliant. I went out there, had one of the best times of my career, just door kicking every day. It was absolutely fantastic. And that was really the cream of my career, even though I was not supposed to go, but they forgot.
Yeah.
Anyway, I get thrown out, and yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, it's, do you feel like that after that? I mean, most people would kind of think that it was because you referenced your team, being more worried about the team.
Yeah, totally.
But now that meant you had been on 2 different occasions with near-death experiences. And obviously, as we're talking to this day, you're still going up in helicopters, running safety measures, doing all these crazy things. It might not be necessarily military, but do you ever feel like after that for a minute, it maybe struck you that were you ever scared of dying personally?
Well, previously you think you're invincible. You think, I can jump out of a plane without a parachute. I can do this, I can do that. And then you realize, whoa, we're pretty fragile. It's not like the films where you take a bullet and you can still fire, or you can come out of a submarine at 200 feet and get to the surface and swim ashore and carry on.
James Bond.
This body is fragile. We need to breathe. We need oxygen into the brain. If we haven't got it, we're stuffed. So it scared me, especially having kids. Having kids changes you as a man, as a parent. You become obviously worried about them. Overwatch, edge of tables, dangerous, scary men, dogs falling over, falling down the stairs, but also you might be on a job and you're thinking about your kids. You've got your little photo there. You shouldn't have it, but you've got the photo and you're worried that if you die, what's going to happen? So it does change you. It really does.
Life gets kind of real outside of your personal operation.
But then the crazy thing is you could have been on an operation and literally taken the overnight back from, say, the Middle East somewhere, got a hire car from the Air Force Base, driven home really quickly. As you skid into the driveway, your family's walking out with the babies and they're going, we're going to have a cream tea at the castle. And you're like, okay. And you've got this big beard. You're sitting there with the babies having a cream tea in a historic house going, 12 hours ago, I was having a big old firefight with a load of bad people who are blowing themselves up, and you're like itching your beard and you're like, ugh, I think that's mesenteric fat where the guy blew himself up. It's ironic.
Yeah.
It's so crazy, the reality of it. But the best thing is having kids ground you. I don't think you get PTSD as badly as the younger lads, because the younger lads, massive firefights, they're having hell of a time out there. Then they come back to civilian life. They go down the pub. They still think they're the lads. They're chatting a woman up. The boyfriend gets pissed off. They have a fight. And it's a vicious spiral. With drink, fighting, opioids, medicinal opioids they're giving out, which is too easy these days.
And can I ask, when you said tablets earlier, did you mean was that like an ibuprofen, or was that referencing like some of the opioids or anything else that they could have given you that was like more prescription?
Years ago we called it DF118s. I think it was codeine of some sort. Yeah. Cocodamol. But these days, obviously, they're giving out the opioids. What are they giving out? Amitriptyline and all the different ones that are not good for you. Yeah. Okay, good short term, but not long term. Yeah. It plays with your psyche, plays with your stomach, with your digestion, and just who you are.
Yeah, and you remember on the island, the gentleman that rows Paul. Do you know Paul Lohr that rowed the ocean? So Paul and I have gotten to know each other over the years, and he came on the show with Hup to talk about their row. Yeah. When the first row they did, when they raised $1 million to fight veteran suicide. And it really opened my eyes, because I don't come from a military family. Yeah. No one in my family I don't know, my close family was in the military. And when we did the show, you could just tell like what Paul and Hub have been through and what the mission means to them. And if you could for a second, and then I want to move on to life after the military. When you referenced your hiatus and when you went backpacking and when you did all that stuff, you pretty much, you holistically, maybe not healed yourself, but you were able to put a Band-Aid on. You were able to patch it and be better. What do you think it is about that? Whether someone, not necessarily saying someone has to go backpack around the world to start to feel better, but what qualities of that experience do you think made you start to feel better? Was it just like your own space or appreciating the world outside of war, being reminded of its beauty?
I think you've knocked it on the head. You're going away. No one knows who you are, which is the best thing out. No one knows what you've been through. You're seeing the world, not through the optic sight of a gun. You're seeing it through these eyes. And the world is beautiful. You're seeing cultures where you're not doubting people, where you're not being negative, where you're not trusting anyone. I was in Africa on the back of a grain truck driving through Zambia with no money. And I didn't know where the hell, I thought I was going to bloody Kenya and I was going the wrong way. I was, whatever. Jumped on it, had no money. I think I swapped some running shoes for some food. And these people was like, oh, here's extra. And you're just seeing the beauty of culture and tribes and young kids running around, coming up and pinching and touching your skin because you're white. And, you're giving them a pencil. And it's all the small things in life that are the important things, aren't they? We get caught up in the military and everyone's bad, this. It's all about aggression. And yes, it is, because you have to be a soldier and you have to be a warrior. But outside of, there's a lot of love out there. There's only 1% of people who are bad in the world. Most people are great. Most Muslims are great. Most Taliban are great. They want to get on with their lives. They don't want us in their country. Imagine if someone attacked this country. Holy shit. They would have a nightmare.
Right.
But we would be the terrorists and they would be the soldiers if China attacked us. So it's how you perceive it. But the world's beautiful, and having less. I didn't have a lot. I had a rucksack, I had a pair of Tevas on, a pair of shorts. Someone stole my tent. We had a kiddie tent in the end with our feet sticking out. We had nothing and it was brilliant. And we met so many people, loads of people in Africa, skied a lot in the mountains of Colorado and the beauty of Colorado.
And you ski, not snowboard?
Telemark. I free the hill.
Oh, yeah. The loose one. Oh, wow. I've heard that's really challenging.
5,000 squats a day. That's the way ahead.
Jeez.
Free the hill, free the mind, they say. But no, just seeing the beauty of the world is what life's about. And I did holistically heal myself, put it all behind me. And when I rejoined, I had so much energy. A lot of the lads who'd been in the same time as me were bored and a bit bitter. I came in and I was like a young pup again. It was brilliant. I think people were sick of it. And I got the good jobs. I was golden balls. And I was lucky and I had a great time. And then I obviously had the injury and that was me finished. But then you have to move on, don't you?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that right there. I mean, when you just said, maybe 1% of the world is really bad people. One thing I don't like that's going on in the news and all this right now is it's honestly just insinuating riot. Like everyone wants everyone to think the end of the world is coming. And as of late, the last year especially, I've really tried to tune it out because I always say to people, they're like, tell me what the problem is. And I say, well, you know what? There's more good people than there are bad people. So I'm going to just bet that we'll work it out, right? The good people come and step up when they have to. And, I rely on that. I just rely on that consistently. But moving on then to when you first leave the military, tell us about what were you looking to do when you first got? I know you've done things in security. You did things with TV production. Tell us about those first 5 years after leaving the military.
It was, I think within 7 weeks, I was a civilian. 17 years in, 7 weeks I'd gone. And you are a naked baby. You're standing there going, okay, what shall I do? I've got 2 young kids. I can't carry on with the tempo of the military. I live in the countryside. I've got a lovely house, great wife. She's a photographer. She's got her career. Perhaps I'll step back. And then got a call off some guys with signals. They were attached to us. They're communicators. They were now civilians. And they said, hey, come and work with us. We're going to propose a radio for special forces. I'm like, oh, dear God, I can't get out of this. But I said, I don't know anything about radios. I use it. And then when I break it, I give it back to you. And they're like, you can be the face of the product. Anyway, it was VHF radio, which is line of sight, walkie-talkies that we all know about. The line of sight, they're not very good. And they proposed this, they came up with this concept and they spent a lot of money on it. I was with a big defense company and it was brilliant. I was like, we've got this radio that goes like that. But 20 years ago, they came up with like an iPhone type radio where you send video, you could live stream live, you could see where people were. I could go through you to another person. So the VHF radio wouldn't go 3 miles. It would go through as many people all through the country. Mm-hmm. So it was awesome. And no one would know about it. It would just work. So this radio came out and I'm like, I believe in this. This will save lives. The bid was huge, millions and millions. Anyway, we went from like 7 companies and I was to 3 and I was doing 4 days a month, earning really good money, going up to London, had to have a suit, pretending I knew what I was doing. Like sitting in the office going, oh my God.
Couldn't wear your flip-flops.
Couldn't wear flip-flops. But all of a sudden, when we got it going, I could see the product. I believed in it. We got down to 3 companies. We did a demo, the 2 companies. We did a demo. My mate was working for the other company, for Lockheed Martin. We did this demo and the Special Forces were like, we want this. This is amazing. It was like an iPhone. We could do everything on it. We saw they were watching it. They're going, so this is going through a radio. We're seeing the guys getting captured. The guys are coming out. They're driving back. I can see everyone. We're like, yeah. And you can talk on it. And then we got down to the 2 companies in the end. They won. They didn't have a solution. They didn't have a radio. But they won because they said they could go 5% under. And that's all the procurement the government wanted. Price. I was so angry about it. I was ranting. And I remember being in this presentation where they said, yeah, such and such has won it. And I was like, that can't be. And I was being a bit gobby and a bit loud. A guy came up to me and goes, Gary, shut your mouth, be quiet, play the game, and you'll have a job for life. Just come and work for us. And I'm like, well, you haven't got a solution. And they didn't have a solution for years. And I think people probably died due to that. I know it's hard to say, but we had advanced technology and it wasn't allowed. I think it must be out there now somewhere, probably with the US Air Force. But yeah. So I was gutted and I just thought, I can't stay here forever. Everyone's bald and fat. Sorry. But they were all bald and fat. They went to the pub. I was still young and ambitious and I couldn't see myself working till 60 there. And I was talking to a mate of mine and I said, what are you up to? And he's like, I'm teaching people to ski to the North Pole in a race. And I'm like, that's cool. Can I do it? And he went, well, there might be a TV show coming up. Do you want to be, I'll do half of it. You do the other half. And I'm like, sure. And then I had to tell my wife that I was leaving and I was getting about between $800 and $1,000 a day.
Wow.
One time I did 30 days, billed 30 days. Unbelievable money. And I had to tell her, and she goes, well, what are you going to do? I'm going to ski to the North Pole with this TV show. She's like, well, how much you getting? $150 a day. She's like, she went berserk. And I'm like, look, I need to do something else. And the TV show was BBC and it was Top Gear, which is a big TV show in England.
Very familiar.
3 guys and they're brilliant. And I called them the Special Forces of the BBC because they were hardcore. It wasn't about the money. It was about doing the job, making great TV. And the episode was, could a Toyota 4-wheel drive beat a dog sled to the magnetic North Pole from northern Canada? So my mate Kenny went with the cars. I went with the dog sled with Richard Hammond. And it was a baptism of fire.
And who are the 3 of us? Richard Hammond,
James May,
and
Jezza, Jeremy Clarkson, the big fella.
Jeremy Clark. Yes, because I love, he's a great story about hers. I'm a car fanatic, not to interrupt, but yeah. So you guys were on your way then, you went with the dog sled team.
I turned up in northern Canada, did some briefing. We had to teach them how to cook, how to melt ice, how to take your boots off so they don't freeze, how the cameramen should keep the batteries warm, how to shoot a polar bear with a shotgun, all these different things, how to drive a skidoo. So we had a race. On your marks, get set, go. And we went off with the dogs and we had this Canadian lady with us, her daughter and this other person. They didn't want me there, but I was head of production. I was running the safety and getting us to the right place, but also filming. It's not just a race. We have to make content. She hated me. And this woman was so vicious. She said to me, people like you will never get to the North Pole. She didn't know me. first time I let it go. The second time I dropped the F-bomb on her and said, fuck it, excuse my language, we're just going to go down this field, go north. It's the North Pole, very flippant. But we did it. And the best thing was that she got lost one day in a whiteout with Richard. And I got the guys in a safe place. We're on skidoos. The whiteout is so bad. I'm 20-meter contours on the GPS. Every time I stop and try and get off, I fall over because you've got no reference point. Mm-hmm. Even though you've stopped, you're like, whoa, and you fall over. It's the weirdest thing that happens. Anyway, I went and I tracked her. I found the skids of the dog sled, found her. She hated me for that. Because I got the dogs in my sled. I put her sled on the back of mine. Richard was on me, and I put her in with the dogs. And we got back to our cab, but she hated me for that.
Saving her life. God, Gary, why'd you have to save my life?
Anyway, I did that, and cut a long story short, we had a great time. Baptism of fire. This is TV. This is fun. This is hardcore. And it's all on me to get us there. I've got a doc. We've got a camera crew. The camera guys with a camera are like the guys with guns. So I'm like, not having a gun, having cameras. The director's like the major. The exec is the colonel. This is really good stuff. And there's a mission. So it was great. And if I came back from that and it was like having a master's degree in bullshit. I didn't know what safety was or security, but I knew I could do it. Mm-hmm. And then you've got that in your resume. And then I just did Top Gear. And we went to Africa. We went Amazon to the Pacific. We went from Kurdistan all the way through to Bethlehem, all through Syria, Turkey, Iraq, when it was all kicking off still, and just had a great time with them. And they're hard-working guys. The camera guys are so professional. No one's worried about working too long or being tired. You just get on with the job. And the presenters were brilliant. And my mate, Grant, he was the producer, and he just said, get on with it. He's the manager. I get on with it, and he just tells me what to do. And it was brilliant. Top Gear was the best. And from that, I got a BBC number. So I was a contractor. I kept getting work and more work, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then, we got to a point where we were building boats for Russell Crowe in Robin Hood. Built these massive French galleons. I got all the Marines from the landing craft camp, got them on board. We were dressed as Normans with all these things and hats and flags and bows and arrows. And we were driving these 40-ton boats onto 2,000 people, and Russell Crowe's there with his bow and arrow and his sword, and it was fascinating. And the big thing from that is whatever job it was, I just said, yes, I can do it. Shit, I don't know how to do it. But you know someone who can do it. You can always employ someone. You can read up on it. And if you're humble and you've got empathy, you can employ someone and you take their knowledge from them, don't you? You use them and you say, right, we've got this project. I don't know anything about it, but you do. Now you're the lead and I'm managing. It's about saying yes. And don't be scared to fail. Because if you fail, a lot of people fail and they think they've failed. They haven't. It's a hiccup. Mm-hmm. Then you stand up, you brush your shoulders off, look, stand tall and smack it again and crack on through life.
Yeah, that's a great point too. Another just great saying that I've loved recently was when people start to realize that they're the product of the end product, not the business, not the success, failure becomes a lot less scary because you realize you are the end goal, right? Like you become the product of what you're doing and everything that occurs in that time frame. And so now you've been doing a lot of production work, right? And working as like essentially, I guess that was your first step, doing like safety guy things as well and taking care of everyone on that North Pole trip. At what point, because you did have your own series on a number of occasions, how did that come about? You went from like behind the scenes and, you're building the boats to now you're the glory on the boat. You're the guy.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
I was, it's spin-offs. Life is about networking and spin-offs. So every job I go on, there's a spin-off to meeting a cool person or getting another job. It might not be tomorrow. It might be a year later, but there's these spin-offs. And a guy called Jim Wiseman from Top Gear put my name forward and said, this guy knows a bit about survival, knows a bit about cars. The TV show's called One Car Too Far. We've got Bill Wu, who's a Californian rally champion. So he said, let's bring the two together and see if it'll work. So we went off over to England with a load of other people, and they cast different people at Land Rover. But Bill, he's a big, very rich person, big Chinese fella, larger than life. We get in a Land Rover. They see if we're compatible. I've got a blindfold on. Bill's saying, we're going around trees. Drive right, drive left, stop, reverse. And I'm having to trust him. It gets back to trust. And I'm blindfolded doing it all. And I feel this itch. And I'm like, what the hell was that? Anyway, there's cameras around and we've got GoPros. I stop the car and he goes, yeah, we've done well. We've passed it. We beat everyone else. And he whips the bloody blindfold off. And I've got about 200 grasshoppers all over me. And I go, hardcore special forces. And I crap myself. There's a bloody grasshopper there. And he'd driven into London the day before, bought like 200 of these, hid them, didn't tell anyone, and then put them all over me. So that gelled us. But with Bill, he said he was a rally champion. He won't mind, if he hears this, he won't mind me telling everyone. He said he's a rally champion. Yes, he was. He won the Gumball Rally in his Lamborghini that was digital army grey. He didn't really know how to four-wheel drive. He did, but at speed, not technical stuff. Didn't know how to winch. Couldn't really change wheels and tyres. He didn't want to get his hands dirty.
It's a sport guy.
Sport guy who could drive very, very fast. He's called the Hummer guy on. He sells Hummers now, these really posh ones, army ones he does up. But yeah, we had a great time on that, and it went from One Car Too Far to Car versus Wild. And they always think I thought you'd earn loads of money on TV. First series. It cost me money, basically, because I couldn't do other work because you had press and you tied in. But it was amazing. We were in Chile, had a great time. But the first series, production didn't really know what they were doing. I'm normally the one behind the camera. So I turn up and I think it's all done. And we're supposed to go up onto a glacier with Ruby, this four-wheel drive old Jeep. We can't go up there. The weather's so bad. We're in a rainforest. Rainforest, you think, oh, nice and warm. Rains a bit. There's monkeys. No, this is an arboreal rainforest at altitude in Chile. The riverbanks have flooded. As we drive in, they didn't know. So we drove in and we start doing this journey and we can just about get through. The production can't get through. Everyone starts getting stuck. We start winching. It's hell. We're up to here in mud. I build a bridge. We drive across. I get hypothermia. This is day one. I'm Special Forces. I've been in Norway and Alaska. I don't get hypothermia. I get hypothermia. Deirdre, she's an Everest doctor. She's like that. You've got hypothermia. I'm going to have to put a probe up your bum. I'm like, whoa, I'm going running.
Chill.
So I run for like half a mile, run back. I'm fine. I put a wetsuit underneath me because it was so cold. Anyway, we carry on. And it was that bad that the Commissioner of Discovery comes up. We're into water here. There's no dry land anywhere. We can't really film. We're making this show, but it's horrendous. She comes up to me. She goes, Gary, where can I have a pee? And I'm like, well, there's a tree there, but you might as well just piss yourself. Because there's water everywhere. We can't. For miles and miles, there's just water. Anyway, that's how bad it got. And it was hard. It was tough. I got my teeth smashed out. We broke the half shaft on a glacier of the truck. It was hardcore. But we learned the process. They gave us another series called Car versus Wild. And we thought we were going to get a third one. And this is where you have to become humble. I'm going to Breckenridge skiing. It's Christmas. The kids are going out. They've spent a lot of money. I get a call. Show's cancelled. I'm like, what? When? Till when? Oh, no, they don't want it. Now I haven't got a show. I'm like, and it's dark. It's like, you promised me a third series. We're going to make $1 million. No, it's all finished. No one wants you anymore. Wow. That is failure. Having to tell people that the show's not on. I've been a success. I'm a warrior. I'm Special Forces. I've got a TV show. Next minute, I've got nothing. And it's dark. But you have to have that smile for the kids. We go on holiday, come back in January. January in the TV industry is dead always. February, start calling the guys up. You got any security jobs? You got any other jobs? Iraq, Afghan. You're on TV. I've seen you naked in a bloody glacial river. Your willy's really small. I'm like, no, look, seriously, I need work. I couldn't get any work for months. And this is how humble I had to become. I was like, right, I need to earn some money. My mate he's got a lawn care service on Amelia Island where I live. I was with a bunch of South Americans. Some were legal, some weren't. And we were spreading pine straw around houses. 100 degrees in July. These South American fellas are hardcore. They work, they're funny, they laugh, and they just keep going. I was dying. I did about 3 weeks of spreading pine straw. You can't get any lower in your life than that. But I always said to myself, my mantra when things got bad was, as a civilian, was I'm not getting my legs blown off. I'm not getting shot at. I haven't got a heavy rucksack. I'm going to go and jump in the sea. I'm getting paid. I'm getting $10 an hour. It's horrendous, but I'm ticking over. It can't get any worse, I don't think, unless we have a hurricane and the house gets blown down. But it can't get any worse. And I accepted it. I did a month and broke. I couldn't go on. And then I accepted what life was about, put the network out again. Friends called me up, started getting work. Fell in love with someone. Amazing. After I got divorced. And let life just take itself. I had a company called Endeavour, and it was big. I had 15 people at one point. And I went back to me, to Gaz, to Gary Humphrey. And it was great. I was no threat to anyone. Started getting back on TV shows. Then they called me up to be a host of another show, which was diabolical, but hey, you did it, you got paid. And just accepted what happened in life. Because as soon as you start fighting life, it bites you in the arse. So accept what you can in life and enjoy it and enjoy the small things. I mean, this morning before I came here, it was a bit chilly. Walked down the beach, sun was coming up, surf was up, but it was not very good at surfing, but it was up. Yep. But there was this silver like sheen over the sea. It was stunning. And I'm like, wow, this is great. I'm going to come and see you. Going to have a chat. Just walk down the beach. Dog's jumping in the seat without its leash on. You get shot in Florida if you have the dog off the leash. But it was just brilliant. And it's all about being alive, isn't it? My cousin died a month ago.
I'm sorry about that.
Engineer, diver. I was with him the week before. He was training for a 10-kilometre swim. Good guy. We walked around the old marine camp, the training, talking about life. Next week, he went for a 2-mile swim, sat on the beach with his wife, had a glass of wine, sun's coming down, heart attack. There was a ER doctor there. There was a defib in the calf behind him. Couldn't get him back to life. So you never know where life is going, when it's going to take you, and you have to enjoy it. And enjoy the little things. Yeah. These things are a nightmare. I say to the kids, or used to, before they travelled and left, was, how many days do you remember being on this? But how many days do you remember surfing? Or riding your bike through Fort Clinch? Being on the boat, catching a shark, wake surfing. Those things are what you remember. They're memories. You don't remember being on this. And everyone's on their phones. Yeah. And you don't remember it. It makes you into a zombie, which people want. The government want that, don't they? They want you calm. They don't want adventurous people. They don't want people outspoken, because then you have a mind and then you think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And today is actually, so I've been living alone for the last 2 years here in Jacksonville. We're like building this and a lot of time working, and have a girlfriend. She goes to college in Pennsylvania. And last year, when she was gone, it was just like work all the time, like live alone, work all the time. And it got really bad, like to the point where it was starting to interfere with our relationship, me and her, my other relationships, just my overall outlook on life. Because we work heavily through the phones, right? With the podcast, social media, whatever. And my friend who just graduated from App State, we grew up together in North Carolina. I grew up there and moved here in 6th grade. And when he graduated, I called him up and I was like, man, you should move down here and you should live with me. And like, let's, cause he's just one of those guys. He's so like, he's high on life all the time. Like just happy to be alive every day. He's like not worried about the business, the money, all that stuff. He's just like, what are we doing? Today's his birthday. And I could not be more excited to have him here. And my brothers are here too. We're all going out tonight. And I couldn't agree more about that of like, when you just said that, it makes, I haven't heard anyone say it just like that of, how many days do you remember using your phone, or what memories are created by using your phone and all the other amazing things that you have an opportunity to experience right now. I think the world is more open than it ever has been before, debatably, right? It's easier for me I can go on my phone and book a flight halfway around the world tomorrow morning. So I definitely can second all of that, and something I'm even guilty of. Like, it's hard being in the next generation to learn to balance it and disconnect, especially if your work is reliable on your phone. Another thing I want to ask you about is now, like, now that you've kind of left some shows and you've been doing a lot of production work with Gordon Ramsey recently, and you've mentioned working with Anthony Bourdain in the past as well. I'm assuming that was within the last probably 10 to 15 years or so. That's where you've really moved into.
Yeah, I've been more in production than I have in special forces. I think I've done 18 years now in the TV industry. Tony Bourdain was brilliant. He was a gentleman. I worked on No Reservations, Kurdistan with him. You know, I was watching it today just to remind myself about it. He was brilliant. He was so humble, so into culture, so into food and people, and you're neutral. There's no Muslim or Indian or whatever you are. It's all a terrorist. You're sitting down, eating food together, and that brings you together. And we went through Kurdistan from Kurdistan through Turkey. Where did we go into? Yeah, through Turkey, and it was brilliant. Iraq, Turkey. It was fun. But he told me, I'm sitting there in Kurdistan with him. We're in this lovely hotel. And he said, what are you going to eat? And I'm like, I'm going to have the seafood pasta. And he went, okay. So we order it. And as I'm eating it, he's like, why did you get the seafood pasta? I'm like, because I like seafood. And I like pasta. He goes, okay. And he goes, you know, it's Monday. And I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, I know it's Monday. He goes, you know when they bought it? I'm like, I don't know. He goes, probably Thursday. Friday was the fresh seafood. Saturday was a special. Sunday, whatever. Monday, they're just trying to get rid of it. I'm like, what? He goes, I'm like, what's your point? And he's like, well, it could be off. You know, we're in Iraq. This isn't bloody Hawaii or Chicago. And I'm like, I've got a cast iron stomach. Anyway, that night I slept for about 2 seconds. I remember closing my eyes going, no, I'm going to keep my eyes open. And I must have just closed my eyes for a second. And I shit the bed so badly. It went through the mattress and hit the box springs. It was that bad. I mean, I was vomiting from the smell.
Oh my God.
It was horrendous. I slept in the bath because it stunk. Anyway, I didn't tell anyone. And we had our rooms for security. We had all our rooms next to each other. Anyway, I didn't tell anyone, had a shower, drank some Gatorade or whatever, got over it. So I thought, had a great day filming and Kurdistan, me and him, it's on the, you know, on the internet. Him and I are shopping for boots. And we see RPGs and night vision goggles and we're doing all that and having a blast. Anyway, we come back and I've said to the management, make sure you change my bed. I do apologise. I pay for it. I am sorry, bad, a bit of a stomach. Anyway, as we're walking back along the corridor, my door opens and they bring out the mattress and it has got the biggest shart. It is. You think a bloody coward shit the bed. And he just looks at me and goes, cast iron stomach. So bless him, you know. And then I remember when he died, they were telling that story on NPR and I was painting the house and I'm like, holy shit, he's talking about me. And then it said at the end of it, rest in peace, Anthony Bourdain. I was like, wow. And he had such a tight-knit group of guys.
He's very well respected.
Yeah, good
very
guy.
well respected. I don't know a ton about him. I just know that, like, I know, like he had that dinner with Obama somewhere in, it was either in Vietnam or Iran, something like that. And they like put a glass cover over the table that Obama and Tony sat at. They have a meal that you can order that is what they ordered that day from the restaurant.
Yeah.
And people talk about that. Like he has an excerpt in one of his videos or something. He's talking about like, you know, go to the pub and get the beer they recommend. Tell them, order your food for you. Don't change anything.
Yeah.
Have good conversation. Get to know people. Like those sort of philosophies, I think, are so important to what we're talking about now of like how people can find their passion, how people can lead a happier life. It's like the simplicities of it. Yeah. It's not as deep as most people try to make it.
People try and make life complicated. And it should be the other way around. It's simple, isn't it? We eat, we breathe, we wake up, we go to bed. The sun comes up, the sun goes down. Keep it like that. And life's easy. If you have a passion, I say to kids, I don't know what, you know, I say to kids at school, we don't know, Gary, we don't know what we're going to do after school. I'm like, well, go to college. Yeah, but what do I do? What are your passions? I love hunting. I love being in the woods. Why don't you go and do a degree in land management? Around here, there's more forest than bloody Bavaria. Go and do that. And go and work in a zip. Go and do something that you like. Then you're not a headless chicken and go and do psychology. I'll go and do psychology because it's a degree. I mean, it's a degree in what? Yeah, go and do something you're passionate about and it's easier, isn't it? It's easier for education because if you're interested, you learn. Take some time off, educate yourself in the world. You know, my youngest, he's in Vietnam on the Chinese border on a motorbike. He shouldn't be riding, dodging the police at the moment because he hasn't got a motorbike license. But he's educating himself and next year probably go to college or go join the military or film production. I don't know. But it's given him that year to mature. It's given him that year to get over drinking All the kids leave, go to college and they're smashing the beers. I've got so many friends whose kids have been in a fraternity, a bit away from home, drinking too much, and they've dropped out of college. By the time Asher comes back, he probably won't even want to drink anymore. Because and in England, it's, we can drink at 16 with parents' consent. And if you're in the pub and you misbehave, someone in the pub will give you a clip round the ear and you'll be thrown out. So it's a maturity thing. So educate yourself, travel around the world, join the military, do something that you enjoy. If you do that, then you're not pushed, are you? A lot of people, I think, especially northern Florida, the South, you have to go to the right college. You have to have the party after you've graduated, with the flags. We're going to FU or whatever it is, or Georgia. And they're pushed. Then they finish, they have a girlfriend, they get married, they have a baby. That's all before you're 30. Why don't you do it the other way around? Experience life. See what you want to do and then go and study. See what you want to do. Travel. Get a career that way. What's the rush? I don't understand what this rush is, that you have to become an adult straight away with debt, with the house. Get a house. I think property is a great investment. Yeah. But debt, if you don't really want to go to college, leave it a couple of years. Because then when you do go to college, you're probably paying for it yourself because you're an adult. And every dime you spend, you need to work for that. You're working for it and just studying. That's my philosophy. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it is what it is for me.
Well, it's great because I second it, and that's and it's something too. It's so much, I think, just to advocate for myself or for Owen or for Asher, for my sister and people that are kind of going through it now. It is hard to live it. Right. It's easier said than done, because even for me, like when I graduated in 2020 during COVID with Owen, I was 17 at the time and I had god awful grades. I couldn't even get into UNF. That's where I wanted to go join the surf team. When I didn't get in there, it was like, well, what am I going to do? And I had the opportunity in 2020. That was when we first started to launch Grit.org. And I moved into a house alone at 17, or at least for a week. I had a roommate come in the second week, but, moved out at 17 and I was just balls to the wall. Like I wanted to build, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to build businesses, and like I wanted to just continue to do that, and it was very much like a pride thing. Like I wanted to have something that people could be like, oh, he's doing well. Fast forward, things were going really good. And, last year was just a big year for me because it was eye-opening, just a year of perspective, really. And last year, in the last 12 months, we've interviewed NFL players, big entrepreneurs, Olympic athletes, world champion surfers. I could go on. And it got to the point where I wasn't really even enjoying it anymore. Like it wasn't it wasn't as thrilling, because it was like all I was doing was thinking about building. And getting better and having people, that were like, great job. Like I was getting more praise than ever, and I couldn't have cared less like about all these people saying that to me. So this point that I'm making here is just that it's so hard to do what you're saying until you get to that point where you've put yourself through that. Like when I started college for one semester, and I was in class doing geology online. And it was talking about rocks, right? And I'm doing all of this while sitting in geology learning about rocks. And I realized, okay, I don't have to have this college degree. I don't have to have this. And I think for anyone that is confused, you're not going to get answers just sitting there going with the grain all the time. It is that going against the grain, taking the risk that's where you find it for yourself. Yeah,
exactly. Even going to work, go and get a crappy job. Go and get a job that you don't enjoy, because you know then that you don't want to do that job. Go and work in the mill on Amelia Island with hardened men where you can't complain and bitch and you have to turn up, earn some money that way and realize I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. Perhaps college is good, but it's going to cost me, and it's going to be instead. It's not about just drinking all the time. It's about getting out there and having substance. That's what life's about, isn't it? It's you've got a pathway, but that pathway could go right or left. Be prepared to let it go right, let it go left. And I think the big thing is also have mentors. If you can have people around, like, I'd come into the schools and just try and help out. There's programs out there, Big Brother, Little Brother, and all these different things. And using that and using your networks and not being afraid to ask and say, hey, what should I do now? I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? It's having trust and confidence with other people and relationships, saying, look, I don't really know where to go here. What would you suggest? People love giving their pennyworth, don't they? They love it.
Yeah.
And just open your heart up some and say, look, I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. I'm going in the wrong direction. What can I do?
And one thing I want a lot of young people to realize too, that I've really learned is like, let's be real. A majority of it is unsexy. It's not thrilling. It's not the beauty of it. It's buying back that small portion though that keeps you going. Yeah. Like I think for me, like again, examining your passions, right? Like in high school, I knew I loved speaking and it's led to the podcast and the post speaking. But then, later today I'll spend 3-4 hours at the laptop chopping this up and getting it ready, whatever. Do I love that? No. But when you do identify that passion deeply of like, I love talking to people, interviewing people, creating social media content, when you realize that little bit that you truly love, you forget about all the other unsexy stuff. And it's just like, hey, I'm going to do that because I know it's one step closer to doing more of this over here that I really enjoy.
And the funny thing is when you said you did so many podcasts, you weren't enjoying it. I work with a lot of camera people in production. We're in the most stunning places. And I'm not knocking Californians, but they can be a bit soft. We go to amazing places. They're filming. It's a 12-hour day. The food's not great sometimes. The weather's awful. And some of them start complaining and they don't see the beauty of what they're doing and they start bitching and you're listening to them and you're like, and I've been up a couple of hours before them, a couple of hours after them, soaking wet, running up and down the mountain with ropes and cameras and carrying them. And I haven't got my safety on because I haven't got time and I'm running around and I'm loving it and I'm living life. And I'm like, hold on, I'm 20 years older than you lot. You're bitching. You're earning more money than me. Now you're on overtime. I'm on a flat rate. They're earning, a lot of money and they're not seeing the beauty of it because they're jaded. They've done it for so long. Yeah. Sometimes you need to step away to come back to it, to give a bit more energy, like I did in the Special Forces when I came back the second time. I've got mates they're still in 35 years. Bitter.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, it's seasons of life. That's the way I like to look at it, is it's just like last year, again, amazing things happened. I look back on it, I'm like, it's not that I was like, it was just really not enjoying the finer things that we're talking about. If someone said, hey, let's go do a golf trip or something. No, I'm not spending that money. I'm going to spend that to go do podcasts. I'm going to go spend it to do work, which I do believe there's a place to be disciplined with your work. But if you're not making that time to have a drink, to hang out, go to the beach, to surf. Before this past hurricane swell, I'd surfed 2-3 times this year. Last week was just so sick with that hurricane swell. Yeah. And I had such a good time. I even wrote a blog about it for our blog about just surfing on the island. Yeah. I mean, it makes me feel like a kid again. It's
Where were you, 6th Street?
I was on the north end. And then our house is actually across the street at Jasmine.
Oh, yeah.
So Jasmine for low tide, up to the north end for high tide. But when you start doing it again, doing those things that bring you back to life in general, those are exciting for me.
And those memories, I went out with my sup because I'm a terrible surfer in between North and South Casino, went out, thought, anyway, got out there over the 2 breaks, saw some dolphins. I'm trying to vector in on them. I want to sup with the dolphins. Anyway, they're there, they're doing their thing. And then as I turn to hit a wave, and I'm terrible, I just plow in all the time. Anyway, I took this left-hander and I just went and I'm like, whoa. And 3 dolphins came through the glass face with me. I'm going cold. I'll remember that for the rest of my life. And then that evening I did a backhander volley in tennis and I think I'm good, but I'm not because I haven't played for years. I'm playing with all the people at the plantation who are amazing. And I'm like, bang, and I got it. I'm like, 2 things in one day. I'm still talking about it now, buzzing, going, and it's simple. Didn't cost me anything.
Yeah.
Bit of time.
Yeah.
But as a young person, you've got the energy and you need to devote that because you've got energy now. I haven't got the energy you've got. I've got the experience. So I'm like the old lion who can sit around with his ladies. You're the lion. You have to go for it now, but then step back sometimes so you realise, how tasty this water is. You really do. And
that's the key right there is, I love the saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Yep. And even at that, I feel like that's what we're talking about here is leading the horse to water in the sense of what we're saying is get out there and go do some shit. Go try something. Like when I graduated high school, I thought I was going to like work in finance. I didn't think I had no idea that this is what it would lead to. And now like all the things that it's come to where I'm like thinking about where I'm going or what I want to do. And, hopefully like do this, like work in TV production, much like you have, because it's a passion of mine. Never could I have imagined. And Asher, like Owen, both of those guys growing up, knowing them, if you would have told me that like Asher would be traveling around the world right now the way he is, I would have been like, who would have thought that he's like ready to go out into the world by himself and just, go 10,000 miles away. It's just crazy. And you learn so much through that time, like that season of life right now that I'm in, Asher, Owen, that you were once in.
Yeah. I still am.
I wish I had the experience you have now in this season of life, but
I wish I was back at your age with the experience I've got, because it'd be dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, but I remember I said to Ash, go travel, just go away 6 months, 3 months, just perhaps have one date in mind, perhaps Christmas, and go to friends of ours in Australia and perhaps spend it with them. It's a beautiful area, great surf. They've got JP, one of his friends. They're all out there now. They lived on Amelia Island. Perhaps do that and have that as the goal. The rest of it doesn't matter, but just turn up there perhaps. Mm-hmm. And that's what just having these little goals. That's all you need, isn't it? It's just one goal. Achieve that and then go on to something else. Mm. But with Ash, I remember him, he landed in Bali. I said, go to Bali first, it's safe. He was like, Dad, this is horrendous. Everyone's Instagramming, they're not seeing the beauty of it. Everyone's posing and pretending they're so cool. But the first day he got there, that night, it was about 10 o'clock at night, and he's in this pod. There's 6 pods in his room. It's $8 a night. And I said, how's it going? And he FaceTimed me. And he goes, where is everyone? I said, I don't know. It's pitch black. I said, there's a swimming pool down there. There must be a bar around. Well, can I go to the bar? I said, of course you can. Do what you want. But what do I talk about? I said, ask about SIM cards. Ask about where you can get food. And he goes, I don't know if I'll go. I might go to bed. I said, no, go down there now. 7 hours later, I saw a video of him dancing on the beach giving it this. Yeah, it didn't take him long.
Yeah.
But it's confidence, isn't it? It's just confidence. And now he hasn't looked back since.
That you make a good point right there about, learning a basic skill of just talking to someone totally random, walking into a room. Cause I even say sometimes like, I know people that won't even sit down at a restaurant and have a meal alone.
Unless they're doing that.
Yeah. Right. Like, and I've been there, like I do plenty of meals, whatever. And when someone's like, no, I'm not going to go like sit at the restaurant alone. I'm like, what do you mean? You can't go sit with your own thoughts for a little bit, or you can't go to like a whether it's a networking event or you're in a town you've never been to. You can't go just spark a little conversation. You're not fascinated. I think that's again, what excites me. And for anyone listening can take away is like, it is very exciting. People in general, they're very fascinating. Like to talk to you and then to also have someone in that same seat that is a CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, or the guys that rode the ocean, Paul. Like just everyone's so different.
But having dinner, sitting at the bar, you don't know who's next to you. You don't know if they're a multi-millionaire, if they've just come off the streets, if they were a druggie, whatever. You don't know, do you? Mm. But that's the interesting thing about life, isn't it? Is asking someone. Mm. Why not? It's like being a bit of a journalist, investigator, isn't it? Asking someone and being intrigued instead of going, oh yeah, how you doing? Then you're looking at your phone and conversation dies. And I hate that. Mm. I lost my phone for 2 days. Someone asked me, I called you. I went, I can't find my phone. I didn't know where it was. It was in the back of the deck chair from the beach from Sunday, and it was now Tuesday. Mm. Brilliant. But just be interested in other people's cultures, other people's jobs, what they do. Why do they do it? My dad's like that. He loves it. He won't just, I'll say, I've been to Africa. Where have you been? What were you actually doing there? And I've learned that from my father, that he's interested in what you do. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about life, culture, education, being happy and healthy. You have to be healthy.
Totally agree. I could honestly do this all day, Gary. This is what did you say? Gaz? Is that what they call you?
In the military, you have names. Mine was Gaz or Gaza. If your name's White in the Marines, you're called Knocker. If your name's Webb, surname's Webb, you're called Spider. If your name's Brown, you're called Buster. If your name's whatever, you're called Knocker. Knocker Brown. If you're Welsh, you're called Taff. If you're Scottish, you're called Jock. Sometimes if you're a black guy, you might be called Midnight. I didn't know that was racist.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a racist thing. There's no racism within the military. In the Marines, there wasn't. It was all, you're a Green Beret, doesn't matter. Mm. And it was brilliant. but it doesn't matter if you're Welsh, Scottish, Pakistani. We've got one guy, I think he's Hindu, and he wears a turban instead of a green beret. It's a green beret, and he's passionate. He takes it off, he's got long hair. And it's all about, it doesn't matter what colour you are, what religion you are. We've all got a green lid, we've all got a beret, we've got the same ethos. We fight for each other, we die for each other. Let's get on with life. You know?
Yeah, it's powerful. And this has been an awesome episode. I'm so thrilled to share this with everybody. And I'm going to close out here with a two-part question. So obviously we talked about the Grit Creed earlier, which is 12 principles our company's built on. So I want to ask you about that. But before we do that, I want to ask you what grit means to you.
Well, I actually had a good think about this. And, you know, grit is such a simple word, isn't it? Such a basic word, such a dirty word. But when you put it, I think if you sort of say, you know, for me, grit means it's perseverance in a task. Okay. Even when things are bad, everything's falling down, you're failing, you brush yourself off, you stand tall, you carry on, and you learn by your mistakes. And that's how you become successful. And that to me is grit. It's doggedness, isn't it? You just keep going, you know? You're that mule. You know, in special forces, we're not thoroughbreds, we're not cart horses, we're mules. Stick it on our back, we're task, we will do the task. You come too near us, we'll rip your head off with our teeth or we'll kick you in the balls. But we are just, and you're just task driven. And I think really that's what grit is. It's being that determined to get on with the job. Perseverance, believe in yourself, fail, get up and carry on. You know,
I love that too. And the last question of our show, we ask all of our guests this show, or this question: what part of the Grit Creed resonates most with you, and why?
Well, I did have a read. You know, I looked at your website. I looked through them all, and you know, some fascinating ones there. But I thought the one I liked: I will lead by example because my purpose is larger than me. Obviously, being in the military and being a father, that sort of resonated with me. You know, it's how the military works. And it's how being a father works. You're the leader of the pack, or you want to be the leader. So you stand tall, you know, you stand up, you put your shoulders above the parapet, you stand up for your family, and hopefully they will follow you. Hopefully they'll respect you, and hopefully they'll emulate you. And really at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want to be known as a good guy, a good father, a good parent, a good man. And in the military, you want to be known as a good soldier. And that's really what it's about. It's pretty basic. But, you know, if you could have that on your stone at the end of the day, Gary was a good dad and a good soldier. I mean, what more do you want in life?
It's that simple. All these things go into good man and good soldier, good father. Great podcast guest. They'll throw that on there too.
You know, as my cousin said, you know, he died, as I said the other week, this is the last thing I'll say. The kids went out drinking. They went to a club in England and it was lovely. You know, we're the old men now. The kids are going out dancing or doing whatever they're doing. We were sitting there drinking whiskey. My cousin Ian we were both getting a bit tipsy. You know, he's an engineer, he's a diver, does diving that I wouldn't even do. It's crazy. And we were talking and he says his dad was in the Coast Guard. Travelled everywhere, so he never had a home. But Exmouth was his home. And he said, you know, we were a bit tipsy, and he doesn't really have emotion. And he said, I'm so happy, I feel complete. As a man, as a father, as a husband. You know, I met my wife here, my kids have grown up here, this is home, and I feel complete. A lot of us are searching for that, and I think Ian, he found it.
Had a good time too.
Had a good time, yeah. He felt complete. You know, we search for it, we look for it, we strive for it, we try and find the answers. He found it, you know, simple. Good father, you know, good husband and a good man.
I'm sorry about your loss, and it's I'll tell you, it's the people around you too. You want to simplify all of this. Keep good people around you. I think that's if there's one thing anyone could take away, that is a powerful one. Is just who you're keeping around you.
Yeah, or be like my parents. Drink wine at lunchtime, laugh a lot, and they're 87.
Live a long life living like that. Well, that is a wrap here today at the Grit.org podcast. Gary, thank you so much again for coming on. I'm sure everyone will be looking up all the videos of you from your other shows. And I know you currently got a show you're working on with Gordon Ramsey as well. So Uncharted. Yeah. Everyone can keep an eye out for that. Gary has been doing a lot of work with that show. Nonetheless, be sure to leave us a comment. Tell us something you enjoyed about Gary's episode. Share this with someone you think it would resonate with or impact. As always, we appreciate you tuning in for another episode of the Grit.org podcast.